Hello guys and welcome back. So let's take a look at this little edge here for this middle piece, right? We have the folding already, but I want to give it some variation here. So one thing I want to do is make this guy, this area a little bit thinner and also push it in a little bit. So, because that's the bending area does have a little variation here. And I wanted to make it looks different. So what I need to do is go to masking, and this time again I'm going to use the lasso here, and holding down Control and just drag over here to mask that little area that I want to make some variations. And then also from here I kind of wanted to define exactly how big that is by reducing some of the masking. Then I can really change it back to freehand, and I can just go inside and refine it. Okay, go to the highest of different level. Okay, let's Control click to invert that. Okay, and we can make it sharper. Can do a inflate to just shrink in a little bit. Okay, all right. And then we can Control click to reverse that and smooth the edge a little bit. Okay. Alright, and we can go for BST standard brush. We can then draw around it to razz it up. Okay, to just give it some more little edging here. Now make sure that you have enough subdivision level to be able to do this, otherwise you may got a lot of aliasing. Although that's probably not going to be a huge problem. And you can populate some more folding around it also. Alright, so some variation I can add. I oftentimes add those variation if it's not a huge difference. I'll do that after you have the folding, that way you don't have to deal with that little thing when you're creating folding. Okay, I don't like what's going on there, so Control to go back. Anyway, so Control click again to reverse that. We can also do some smoothing here on the bottom. And for these guys, I also wanted to push them in, right? So I'm gonna make a fairly big brush just to drag these guys inwards. Okay, and also do a smooth. Again, we're faking the shape, so we don't need to worry about some imperfections with the clipping edges. We just need to, have a shorter area. Okay. Thinner, smaller area. Okay, just to give this piece a little bit more interesting variations. Okay, now what's going to be happening here will be actually there's some extra metal part that holds the shoelace to hold it maybe over here. So it goes through the middle here, but suddenly it gets a little bit bigger and then it goes on, right? And on the top I may have to also add some more metal parts. Okay. Anyway. So that's that little variation I can add. Okay, so I think I can just have well, I'm trying to design it. Maybe I can add another one like this somewhere else, but maybe this is enough. I'm not sure yet. Maybe it's just enough. Okay, alright, so what I can do after this is I can do that little metal part and put it in here. Okay, so if I want to model something that is hard surface, I can do either here in Zbrush or I can do that in Maya. So I would recommend you to try both and see which one is more comfortable to you. Okay, I think both package are pretty capable, but I think Maya will be more clean and easy to use because of the simple traditional modeling ways. So I want to create a metal thing over here, right, to hold the shoelace, okay, somewhere over there. Okay, So let me go ahead and try to model it in Zbrush. So go to any other tool here, and you can change it to something else like a cube or whatever. You can hit go to make polymesh 3D, hit W, and go to the little gear. We can change it to another polycube. This cube allows you to tweak the edges, how many edges you want to have. Okay. So I'm gonna go for just 2. Okay. So Zbrush has this really unique UI here, which is you drag those cones to determine how many lines you want to have here and there, or any other attributes, which is weird. But anyway, so I'm done with that. I can then shrink it to, make it go in, mask that, control click, and then just, expand that. Okay. And maybe just make it a little bit thinner. Okay. All right. Now BZM to go to the modeler, and I can go for a bevel. All right. So click and drag to bevel it, and I kind of wanted to just maybe bevel that one. All right, so I'm gonna mask that and also drag it out just a little bit. Okay, so I want something to excuse me, to bend backwards, right? To bend back, so that it can hold whatever that is in on the that is from the shoelace. Okay, so maybe I can bevel this guy to have an opening. Alt click to have a little face selected. I can then do a extrusion, and extrude a single poly to extrude that up. Okay, now control drag to mask that, control click, and then drag it down. Okay, and then we'll do extrude the poly one more time, and this time mask that and drag it down. Okay, and then I can mask that, control click, and drag it this way, and then just extrude it one more time. It's a little bit thick here down there, so I need to mask that and drag it up. So masking is how you select stuff. In my opinion, that's how you operate. But maybe there are easier ways. It just doesn't appears to be to me. Yeah, so selecting becomes something quite difficult in Zbrush. They wanted to develop a method or a modeling ways that does not involve selection. So they build a target, right? A different target. Like if you go to a different target here, so to avoid selection. But that's the problem, I think, because you want to select things. You want to specifically say, okay, I want to move this line, but there is no option for that. I think that's the problem here with the Z modeler. Reinventing the wheels are, I do think that's a good practice, right? Try to reinvent some of the possible ways, try some of the possible ways to see if you can do better, but but don't throw away some of the benefit. Also, right? You can keep both. I think you could keep both. Okay. Yes. Okay, that's some kind of like a metal holder there. Let's see if I can make it a little bit more interesting. Right. So I'm gonna grab the middle parts, control click to invert that, and then just scale it this way. Okay. And then go for BZM, and I can add 2 edge loops here in the middle. Okay. Now when you're modeling this, you also want to think about, okay, I'm modeling a model here. Am I able to use it as a real model eventually, or am I gonna bake a normal map, whatever? So think about those things when you're building it. Have a clear idea of what you want to do, because sometimes it's difficult to deal with those simple things. Their UVs are hard to do also. I think a UV like this is even harder than the entire jacket when it comes to UV, because it's just not harder, but just feels counterintuitive to have to do the UVs for these guys. Anyway, so what I did is just holding down Alt and select those three faces, right? So that's what I did. And what I'm trying to do is using the Q mesh here with a single poly and just drag them in to, you know, have a little opening there. Okay, and mask that and just drag it backwards. Okay, cool. Hit D button and yes, you can see what I have built, right? Just some metal part that I can populate around different areas. Okay, so you can find a different design or do whatever you want. I think a few things I could do just to simplify this. Let's see, maybe not. Yeah, maybe that's enough. Okay, again, it's all up to you. But one thing I'm always worrying about is how do I eventually use this? Do I bake it as normal map? Is it too much of a smaller thing, right, to really use the model? Right, that's the things I keep thinking about. I think Zbrush is a great tool to create model that looks good in Zbrush. It's not very good on transferring over to any other package. That's the problem with all the program. They are able to make things good inside of their own little world, but they don't really consider eventually where they have to go, right? That's the problem. I think that needs to be addressed. Anyway, so now back here to our object. What we can do is we can go just to a insert, and we insert our little object, right, and drag it out and rotate it and position it. We can also make an insert brush. Yeah, that would be easier actually. So let's try that. I'm gonna delete this guy. I'll go back to that tool here and make it face us this way. And then go for brush, create insert mesh, new. Okay. Now back here, if you want to insert right on the, what's this one? That's the transpose one. Go back to this one with the big number here. So I'm gonna click and drag here. You can see, oh, I can because I'm on the little bottom area. So yeah, you could start dragging to add new ones, and it's gonna be able to snap to on the surface of any model. But if you go here to this one and you drag, it's gonna give you a warning, right? Which says that there is a subdivision level of there. So to work around that, you can just insert anything, like a ball here, okay, and just drag that ball to whatever to wherever you want it to be, and just start dragging on that sphere, okay. And then when you're done with dragging things out, you can then Control W to keep that a polygroup, Control Shift and double click, do a delete hidden, and you have a new subtool with just that little metal holder. So I think I'm gonna put it somewhere here. D button and yes, so preview it. Maybe a bit flattened. Okay. And then I can hold down Control to have a copy and drag it over to rotate it, right? And then just position it manually. I think that way I can get exactly the same size. It's easier than dragging in a new one, I think. Alright, clear the mask. Okay, cool. Now we have to go to the base mesh, and then we have to sculpt it a little bit to make it fit with the new object we have, right? So let me go to a lower subdivision level and just smooth the base out. Yeah, we maybe create a little base area for it. That would be also something we could do. So I can use stamp standard, holding down Alt and just drag around it to give it some fake kind of like little fabric bottom, and then just dig in around it. Right? So we're sculpting, right? Just if it's able to be sculpted, you just do that, because that's easier to just create instead of creating a new model. Although new model is a little bit more clean, but again, you have to pay for it later on when you're retopologizing it, right? Because that's just one extra pen to deal with, right? So this is always a trade-off. Okay. Anyway, so we have something like this, right? I just need to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm gonna do that between the two in between the videos. In the next one, we'll have this done, and then we can talk about maybe how we can, maybe how we can add the details on the bottom of the show. Okay, see you next time.